Hello. Wow. Welcome back, everybody. I think you can hear me and see me according to the computer machine. A series of tubes, I believe Ted Stevens once called it. Going way back. Old guy in Alaska. Shockingly, yeah, he's a Republican. You're all doing well. Good to see you. Thank you for the hello, Left Grant. Much fun to be had today. Right, Veronica? How can you not love this song? Honestly, how can you not love that song? Veronica gets it. She gets it. Hey, guys, welcome back. Coming to you live from the Queen City, the Radio City, right here in Cincinnati, baby, where it's snowing. Yes, Veronica, you and you other Floridians and people in warm places. It was snowing last night and still somewhat this morning. Cold, but not undrivable. We have to here really sort of set our standards low. Everything's going well in the normal sense of compared to the timeline we could be on, where Al Gore got elected and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and we now were sort of leading Canada, and Canada was saying, how do we get more progressive like the United States? Compared to that timeline that was supposed to happen, except for that, screwed us, not that great. But all things being equal, pretty good. Good stories today. You probably saw the thumbnail. Scott Jennings, it's like he's like this wimpy little sort of boxer whose boxing shorts are falling down the ring, and he's sort of, his sweat and blood in his face. He doesn't know which way he's looking. Just went up against Mike Tyson. And as you know, Mike Tyson used to say everybody has a plan until I punched them in the face. Sadly, he took that ideology off the ring too. But in any case, that's what it looks like with Scott. He is getting slapped around so much. He is a pathetic MAGA shill. He's a word that rhymes with door. I don't know if I can say that word either, but he's such the way he sits there vociferously arguing in favor of the most ridiculous things, like challenging rulings by judges coming from the executive branch. Elon Musk doing his Himmler impression and other stuff. And I guess they're just tired of him. The other hosts are on there. But good move, CNN. I know your ratings are down like 60%. I'm sure they won't be down 70 and 80% soon. You guys are doing great. What you want to do is have that little piece of crap, that little troll, that little white bread left out in the sun for too long, Scott Jennings on, lying sack of turds. And you want to get rid of Jim Acosta, who went over to Substack and now has a huge following and is probably making more money. Good move. You guys are so smart. God, the marketing people there. Also, more Republicans beclowning themselves, and if they didn't, what else would they do? It's sort of hard to argue at this point there are any decent Republicans. I used to try for a little bit. I don't know, maybe Lisa Murkowski once in a while, but even I'm going to talk to you about one that actually did the right thing in the past and just made a fool of himself on numerous things. That'll be Senator Bill Cassidy, who voted for Trump's impeachment, which was a pretty courageous thing to do at the time, being that he's from Louisiana, one of the most Republican states, one of 7 Republicans to vote to convict Trump. And now he's a clown. He's supporting all of Trump's worst nominees with the stupidest reasoning. Because again, I don't know if you ever saw that Offshoot movie. I'm a big, as you know, action movie fan, action, sci-fi, that kind of thing. You ever like the Jason Bourne series? You ever saw that Offshoot one with Alex Cross, right? Played by Jeremy Renner. And we learn why these guys are so strong. Like Jeremy Renner was a guy whose IQ was sort of below desk level. But when they gave him these pills, he would go up to where he was 1%. He had 1% better physical and mental acumen than any other humans out there. And he was just amazing. Any Republican you see acting intelligent must have gotten their hands on those pills. Bill Cassidy, who took that vote to convict Trump, I guess he got his hand on those pills, and then he went back to being the dumbass that he is. He literally went back to sloughing back into a chair and watching cartoons that, something out of Idiocracy with and just sort of sitting there and you know puking up whatever cheese balls he was eating before that and talking to his own shadow because that's the kind of dumb we're talking about. And then, a few other stories. I know this will shock you, but sort of roundup of all of the corruption in Trump's first 3 weeks in office as Republicans scream and yell about Democrats. Remember Hunter Biden? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's probably sitting there and asking them, like, hey, if we look into Trump's corruption, will you put Hunter Biden's junk up on the screen again? No, I'm totally not interested. Just for obviously for research purposes. Hunter Biden, Benghazi, we can go through all these things. And like the level of corruption with Donald Trump is like, it's staggering. For a kleptocrat from like a country that ends in Stan, it would be staggering. So there you go. We're going to talk about some of those things. I see some of you are saying, hi, hey, I'm being raided. Raid, yeah. Is that Hal's folks? If Hal's folks are raiding, yeah, Hal Sparks raid. You guys are awesome. Thank you. This is live. K Hink 42. This is live. We're always live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, obviously, unless I tell you I have to miss it for some reason. We had diabetic kitty alert last week, so I missed the Wednesday one, but otherwise I'm here. These 3 days, at least from 2 to like 3:30, 3:45, or we sometimes take it to the borderline of 4. We go longer than 2 hours. Dogs and cats living together. The world falls apart because StreamYard has decided we cannot go longer than that and then replay it. I have to go in and do a bunch of editing, which is annoying. So I don't. But yeah, on the other days, I do put up reruns and I try to mark them as that and I forget often. I apologize. But, come on, guys. Like people watch reruns of TV, don't you? I do. And that last one that I put up on, I keep seeing Hal sent me. Hal is awesome. Hal is the man. We'll have to get Hal in here soon. Would you say, Cliff, I need you to put dates in the description? I could try to do that. I can do that, maybe the description. I'm going to try. I'm not trying to fool anybody again. But like replay value seems to be pretty good if it's the right topic. That first one I did on Jasmine Crockett, giving the big, that large destruction, that speech that just took apart little whiny Elon Musk, who now stands over the person we elected or theoretically elected in the White House because Elon Musk is president, while his son kind of sits there and stares at Trump and is like, what are you doing in my daddy's seat? Get out. Yeah, that one with Jasmine ripping into Elon. I mean, the last time I played it, which was those did so well, but you guys did. Other people wanted to see them. I mean, again, not everybody's free at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if it's not live, it's not like we've committed some crime. I'm playing you guys something that has good content in it, just like I tape videos and play them, and I tape shorts and play them. It's kind of the way I see it. And that last one got 11,000 people in the room for what was something that was taped. So clearly, it was kind of good content, right? People liked it. You guys liked it. I will do my best to try to remember, but I do not see what the big deal about it is because of the fact that if you go there, like when you go to a TV show, you're like, is this the new Yellowstone or is this the newer, whatever it is? And you discover that it's it's a rerun. You're like, oh, I haven't seen this one, so I'm going to watch it. Or I really like this one, so I'm going to watch it again. I don't know. I guess I'm a Gen Xer at heart, guys, because reruns were what I watched growing up. There was some obviously great new shows too. Cheers, classic. Family Ties, excellent. We'll go through other ones, but then there was like stuff from like, from the 70s and stuff from like when I was a very little kid or not around. And I had to like, I watched it. I mean, back then, Bonanza. In retrospect, don't like Bonanza so much for reasons I'm sure you can guess. But back then, fun. Battlestar Galactica. My God, there's all sorts of cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, clicking like just because. Exactly. You should click like just because. You should comment just because. You should subscribe to our YouTube. I saw Lefty Gramps in there. We are well over 103,000. We have our mojo back, folks. We got unmojoed by a series of events, none of which that I think are our fault. I mean, I guess I'm partially to blame for the fact that, like others that work in this industry, that Donald Trump won. We tried to do our part. Clearly wasn't good enough. But so a lot of folks tuned out. I don't blame you. I was pretty depressed in those couple weeks after the election. But that some of that happened. Some folks unsubscribed. Just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this country. I'm done with politics. And some probably are just done. And I get it. A lot of you came back slowly, but that kind of hampered us in November, December. And then we had the whole, I'm guessing Russian bots, but Saudi bots, some bots that were messing with my account, which maybe means we made a difference. So they wanted to, because I read stuff about that they would latch onto lefty accounts trying to cause trouble, trying to just mix people up, disorient them, pick fights, that kind of thing. And on 2 different occasions, I had a couple thousand. Every time I get over 100,000, they disappear. So I am happy that we are at the very least over 100. See what Veronica's willing to do here, guys? I'm well over 103,000. I think we're actually close to 103,200, something like that. But we're moving in the direction now where instead of, we're like, hey, we picked up 300 new people last month. Like we're at 4,000 a month average, and it's all on an upward trend. I expect that to get to 5, 6, 7. I mean, at our heyday for about 3-4 months there, around August, September, October, beginning of November, like we were averaging at the high point 18,000 new subscribers a month. But I think the general average was around 12. Still serious stuff. So there you go, guys. If you go to my Patreon, which Jim has provided, which I need 1 or 2 of you guys to do it. If a couple folks do it every time, go and either upgrade, get more perks, or go join Patreon. We're getting it further up there, and I'm able to do more. Obviously, Substack too. Please, we're going to have a big relaunch, as I've told you, and that will be lots of fun in about 2 weeks. And then that one day, we're going to be all Substack. Just so you know, I'm kicking the idea around, but don't hold me to it, because I have to make sure that it would work. Substack has a key that allows you to stream there. And if I make that day all about blowing up the Substack and growing it, then the plan is I may live stream for like 7 hours straight. Is that like, I don't know what that is. I may have to use a bucket or something. We'll figure it out. But in any case, so there's that. And obviously YouTube, because we want to keep flying up. Okay. We got to have the other places, as I've told you, because we get emails, we can keep in touch with you, but YouTube is the megaphone. It still plays an important role, and it's where a lot of you folks first found me. No, I'm not going to really look. There's Lefty Gramps telling you that Substack is cool. I mean, he went with the name Lefty Gramps. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Anybody who goes by Lefty Gramps, is cool, and so Substack actually is. I'm not just proselytizing for the fun of it. It's going to give me access to reaching a lot more people, and that's going to be good. And you'll see as that happens. But we got stuff and things to talk about. There's no Tony today. He's probably off doing something Ozarkian. Who knows? Hawking loogies at trucks going by, or knowing Tony, maybe pushing boulders off the side of mountains when MAGA trucks go by. So whatever it is, Tony, we know you're not here for a good reason, and you're here in spirit with us. So I want to bring back, and so today we can really do everything in whatever order we want. So I'm going to bring back Cliff's note. No, that'll be different than the takedown. We're branding this stuff. Cliff's note, I just want to note something that, overall, it doesn't have to be a rageful rant, just how just incredible it is, right? So let's talk about Cassidy. Bill Cassidy was a congressman, is a doctor. You guys ever notice how many of the doctors, anybody remember Bill Frist? That lunatic, oh my God, that crazy guy who said that like evolution was from the pits of hell. I want to say his last name was Brown, which would make sense. He was a brown shirt, Paul Brown, congressman from Georgia. There was the other one, congressman from Georgia that Trump put at HHS his first term. I can't think of his name. And like billed us for all these private flights, back when they're only being very corrupt and not as corrupt as we'll get to. There's something about being a doctor and being a Republican. Scott Desjardins, the one, is he a dentist or a doctor? The one that had like 3 affairs or two or three affairs, is anti-choice, but encouraged 2 of those women to go, wah, wah. Yeah, go take care of that thing. Because when it's me, it's different. I don't know. There's like, doctors are usually supposed to be like, you took science and medicine. I would think you'd be I mean, doctors I know, on average, not all, are more liberal than society. But the ones in the Republican Party are literally insane. I see fake eye doctor Rand Paul. Yeah, he's not even a real doctor. I mean, it's such a classic thing, right? The way they make up the Federalist Society and say that's like the American Bar Association, and no, it's not. You're a bunch of right wing, Republican and robe hacks. They make up like Fox News. Oh, that's real media, just like just like other media. No, it's not. It's a propaganda operation. Rand Paul fit in with them perfectly. He didn't. The American Medical Association probably would have rejected him, so he made up his own medical association. I mean, it just to get rid of this is I had a whole rant on how they deregulate. And this is what they do. So back to Dr. Cassidy, who, at the time, there were a couple people who I gave massive credit to. I mean, a classic example is our congressman here, and I know Lefty Gramps, and I don't know if OHTJ is back again. Will jump in with me. We had a guy in Rob Portman, who a lot of people, when you met him personally, thought was a thoughtful, nice individual personally, was back from that old wing of the Republican Party. People didn't know about him. His brother was a huge environmentalist and moved out to Montana, and they preserved all this land. His mom had been on the board of Planned Parenthood here. They were moderate Republicans in the old school way. But Rob Portman was a Republican. And originally he ran as sort of a center-right Republican. And then to fit in with George W. Bush first, he moved further to the crazy right. And then to fit in with Trump, he became a lunatic. Remember, he was on the Ukraine caucus and covered for Trump during the first impeachment. He also didn't vote for impeachment. And Max Boot wrote, I think, one of the best pieces I've seen on those kinds of Republicans, that it's not the lunatics like the Marjorie Taylor Greene, just the Rob Portmans that are going to lead to fascism in this country. The ones that will not stand up, have any courage to stand up to Trump. Well, so even though he was leaving the Senate, he was such a wimp, such a non-factor, that he wouldn't vote for Trump to be convicted. But Cassidy from Louisiana, from one of the easily 8-10 most conservative states in the country, was sort of a shock. You got Murkowski. Okay, you expected that. You got Romney. You expected that. You voted for the first one. You got, Susan Collins. She put on her sad and concerned face, but decided that time she'd vote for it. Burr from North Carolina, little bit of a surprise, but he'd had some fights with the MAGA wing because he was on the Senate Intelligence Committee and actually released the true report about Trump Russia. I'm trying to remember who the other ones are, but Cassidy was sort of a shock. And so people were like, oh, well, he's really a, he's reasonable. You can talk to this guy. You can do business with this guy. And again, he must have taken the Alex Cross, Jason Bourne pills that gave him, suddenly he was really intelligent and he understood things. Wow, Donald Trump has broken the law. Donald Trump has, on January 6th, tried to encourage an insurrection. I'm going to vote for him. And then the pill wore off and he went down to, you said butthead. Okay, that'll be my Beavis and Butthead for now. And so, amazing. So here's Cassidy now. We've got two people in Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, and again, I don't know what they come after me for on YouTube, so we'll be safe here. A member of the Kennedy family that's not a Democrat, are both up for positions they have no business being anywhere near, for all of the obvious reasons. They've said before, Tulsi, why not just cut out the middleman, a middlewoman here, and we could just appoint Vladimir Putin and hand all of our reports straight to him. Wouldn't that just be easier? All of our intelligence reports. So, Gabbard's nomination has looked at risk at times. A whole lot of Republicans were sort of giving reservations. Of course, magically, Susan Collins, after Donald Trump said after he threatened tariffs against Canada, and then backed off those tariffs after she wrote a letter saying how disproportionately it was going to harm Maine, and it was going to, especially northern Maine, which is the part that votes for Trump. Wow, he backed off on the tariffs, and magically she said she'd vote for Gabbard. She absolutely knows better. She absolutely knows what she's doing is treason, but she helped her people economically, and all she cares about is getting reelected. Again, we can win Collins sometimes, but never think Collins does anything in good faith. She is a bad faith, lying. She's a weirdo little screwball. Ever hear her talk? Sounds like she's just blowing her nose the whole time. She's weird, and you can't trust her and whatever. But you do win her on issues sometimes because she likes to play moderate, so she'll vote against some people, whatever. She's not trustworthy. So she agreed to support Tulsi Gabbard. Well, so did Cassidy after being on the fence, as Cassidy is. And this is his statement. And this, even for Washington, is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard coming from somebody with his background. All right, let's do it. Where is it? Hold on one second. We will get to it. There you go. President Trump chose Tulsi Gabbard to be the point person on foreign intelligence. I will trust President Trump on this decision and vote for her confirmation. That's it. Nothing else. No mention of her background. No mention of you can't even trust her to be in the same party or same movement in that party. She was for Hillary, then she was jumped over to Bernie, then she jumped over to MAGA. She was part of a cult back in Hawaii. That was this crazy cult even before she ran for office. Back then, she was very anti-gay rights. Suddenly, when she was in Congress, as a progressive, she became pro-gay rights. Again, people evolve and change. I've changed certain positions when I've learned about them. When I was a young Democrat, I'm talking about now, young, at least about 25 years ago, I was in favor of the death penalty. I came to be against that position for a variety of reasons, but never so much as against that position as when I served on the board of the Ohio Innocence Project here for 8 years and saw how often we get it wrong. Like they won't tell you this, but we've put thousands, if not tens of thousands, of innocent people to death. We just have. We got a guy off of death row who'd been on death row for, at the time was the record, and we've now broken that record. I think it was 42 years. And the only reason he was still alive was because when the Supreme Court in the late 70s, some of you may know this, found the death penalty unconstitutional back when we had a moderate to liberal Supreme Court, really not liberal. 2 years later, they reinstituted under certain, with certain stronger guidelines. They said you can't have the death penalty, but because they found it unconstitutional in between, our client got life in prison. That's the only reason he's still alive, and we proved his innocence. So, yes, you can evolve on things. And I'm glad I did evolve on that. But you don't just change positions all over the place for no reason. So when you're Bill Cassidy and you've said Donald Trump committed an insurrection, committed an act of treason so heinous against the United States that I believe he needs to be removed. He must be convicted. And that means after he's convicted of impeachment thrown out, good chance he must be tried in a court of law and he can never serve as president again. That's what that would have done. If in the end, would have been 10 more Republican senators if Mitch McConnell had done his job and 10 more senators that come along with the other 7 Republicans. And now he's saying after that, just that, not even everything else that came out, that General Milley had to call China, that was literally, we could see troop movements and movements of their armaments on our satellites because China was preparing for the fact that America might be taken over by a hostile force and they might have to nuke us. And Milley had to call them. I mean, any number of things, right? You start with those things. And Cassidy, after voting to convict now, says, I trust him. I will trust President Trump on this decision. Just a director of national intelligence, nothing important. The one person that coordinates all of our intelligence committees. And this is a person who has been accused of being a Putinite and seems in league with Putin for years, as well as, not to mention her defense of a murderous demagogue in Syria, and not to mention her also playing footsie with Xi in China. And I mean, all you have to do is become a horrific dictator, and Tulsi's right there next to you. You also said he'd support that other guy, the Kennedy guy. And I wish I could go into more here. But hey, unpasteurized milk for everybody. So I don't know. Do you have a theory? I mean, did he have a pang of conscience on that, a couple of years back? Because remember, or is he just a political night walker? Let's be honest, a street corner walker. Because I remember back then on January 6th, as I've said before, Nancy Mace was also talking up a storm, attacking Trump, saying that we might have to remove him. And then when he was rehabilitated and she decided her political career was more important than anything, she let out her vicious bigot side. That the bigotry came later, but right away the nastiness and the pro-MAGA garbage, so that she wouldn't be challenged in a primary. Right. I don't know. Your theory is as good as mine on what is wrong with Cassidy. I mean, Cassidy was even one of the ones they thought way back when might work with us on Obamacare. He, of course, didn't in the end. But I mean, to go from I convict, j'accuse, if you will, You are found guilty of sedition. You should be tried in a court of law for betraying your country. You should never be allowed to serve in office again. You should go to prison. Hey, I trust you in all your foreign policy choices. No biggie, especially that one who switched all parties and movements and hangs out with Putin is going to have all the intelligence documents that, with things like, oh, I don't know, names of our undercover operatives. That is, if they haven't already sent them out by email, which of course they did our new recruits like a week or two ago. But, remember Hillary's had that email server. So in any case, what is wrong with them? Are there any decent Republicans left anymore? Are there any Republicans with firing neurons? Are there any Republicans left where the left hemisphere of the cerebral cortex and the right hemisphere of the cerebral cortex are still attached? Corpus callosum completely intact, information flowing between the two of them, back and forth, or are they just sort of one big amygdala? I don't know. But I mean, it just boggles the mind. After that vote he took, I trust Donald Trump on this. I mean, there's probably some positions there you could trust him on. I think. Who they allow to clean the toilets there? I mean, I think that's probably Stephen Miller, because I like to get it done at night. And as you know, he can't go out in daylight or it burns. I like when I make myself laugh. Sorry. I don't know. No, nobody here seems to even have a better explanation. And fear, Francie Ryle, that could be it. Maybe they've threatened him since. Maybe they've got some kind of compromise. It seems like the ones they had stuff on, though, were the ones that went over to Trump initially. Always remember, they hacked both the DNC and the RNC emails, but only released the DNC ones. And always remember that shortly after that was when Donald Trump took Lindsey Graham golfing, Lindsey Graham who'd been calling him, saying things like, I think he's sick. I think he's evil. I think he's horrible. I think he'll destroy our party, and came out of there like, dude's my best friend, man. Remember last summer? Oh my God, that's so cool. I don't know. You figure it out. I couldn't have any idea what they could have on Lindsey Graham. What could they have on Lindsey Graham? Don't know. But when it comes to Cassidy, they had stuff back then. He wouldn't have voted for impeachment. Maybe they've gotten stuff since. Maybe he's not careful about his email practices. I don't know. Maybe they're threatening him. I mean, Mitt Romney did say there were Republican House members and senators who were scared that MAGA scum would target their families. So for that particular reason, they chose to not vote to convict. And my answer to that is no. Coward. I get being scared. I've been threatened. I've had to call the FBI, the local version here in Ohio, because somebody here in Cincinnati had my address and said they were coming over to my house. That was the worst one. I've gotten plenty of generic death threats and kinds of things where one other time I felt it was contacting the police was merited. But I've gotten plenty of them all the time. I'm still sitting here doing this. You believe in things, you take risks. You don't believe in things, or I make a decision that I don't believe in this enough and I stop doing it. I say, hey guys, I'm trying, but I'm going to go and, I'm scared for this or that, and I just can't do this anymore. So leave. But when you run for a position of power, you're running for a position of power. Okay? History is looking. And at that point, you've put yourself in the position where you need to represent our interests. And you have chosen, because it was important enough to you to either serve publicly or just to see your name written up in big places and it made you feel cool, or you liked the paycheck, or whatever the hell reason. Maybe, DC was so fantastic, you loved it. Maybe you frequented the DC brothel like David Vitter, another Louisianan back in the day. I don't know why you went there. For whatever reason you went there, you know what? Get whatever protection you want for your family, because let's be honest here, you're all millionaires, multimillionaires, by the way. All right, with very few exceptions, you can afford to get security for your families. So either do that or leave. But if you're staying there and you're voting against convicting, how does that help anybody? You're empowering those forces. So any single person, Mitt Romney should not have kept that in confidence. I think he should have exposed every damn one of them. You want to do something good on the way out the door, Mitt? That would have been it. Besides maybe endorsing Biden. But, thanks for not doing that. Or I'm sorry, Kamala. Thanks for not doing that too. I don't know if it would have made any difference with Mormons in places like Arizona and Nevada, but I also don't know that it wouldn't have. So, well, I know what you're saying. I don't know if you got here late, Grumpy Cat. To be fair, Senator Cassidy did vote to impeach Trump. That's what this is all about. How do you vote to impeach Trump and now act like such an ignoramus, a mook, a lummox, a dunderhead, a crack brain, a cockloach? What happens to you? Where is it that you lose the brain power along the way? If you had the courage to vote to convict then, I would think that would put you at risk. Maybe you have the courage to stand up to a Putin plant now, or is it that? Has Vlad the Impaler gotten to you? Is it, just don't drink tea, especially if it's blue, and do not stay in hotel rooms on the 5th floor, particularly if there's a balcony. Get security if you need to, or leave if that's what it's about. I don't know that that's what it's about with Cassidy, but whatever it's about, you've betrayed us. You've betrayed this country because Tulsi Gabbard, we know what she is. We all know what she is. It's obvious. At one point, a couple of the intelligence agencies were showing who were the people, the figures out there that were parroting what they were saying on RT word for word. It was Ron Johnson, that jack of lantern from Wisconsin. It was Tulsi Gabbard. They had like one or two others they listed, like word for word. No network has done more to prop up and normalize Trump as meetings than CNN. Oh, yes, we're going to get to Scott Jennings, that little punk who I've known since he was a little punk for Mitch McConnell, being his piss boy and going around doing whatever was asked of him. You'll never find yourself a bigger prostitute than Scott Jennings. Anything that guy would do. And now it's the same thing on CNN. Like, you sort of, and again, I will get better. I am getting better. I have a lot going on. But when I can show you video here or whatever, because I wish, I'm going to put it into a video. I'm going to have a video created from the rant I do here today with the video segments, and then we'll put it up as a taped video. I will leave it here either tomorrow if it's done in time, or next week in the live stream, and you guys can watch it. But numerous times this week, like, he argues so vociferously. He's such a schmuck. He argues in just the most wimpy wanker way and says these nasty things, and then whines when the others there, like Bakari Sellers and Abby Phillips, look back at him and are like, "You chump, you don't even know what you're talking about." I mean, I'll get into that in a second because I'm going to do a whole thing on that. But I mean, like, he sits there and argues things that are patently false, has no evidence, just says, well, he tries to, it's an old debating technique. Like, oh, you're going to give Donald Trump credit for anything? You're going to give him credit for anything? Or are you going to say that, instead of answering the question, which is, hi, what did I say that was wrong when I told you that Donald Trump lied about what the federal judges said? Or you're going to give Donald Trump credit for anything? That's not what I asked you. What did I say was wrong? Bakari Sellers stayed on him, to his credit. But yeah, CNN's awful. Again, I need it for this show, so I do something very simple. I go to certain sites, HuffPost, Mediaite, and then social media, Blue Sky, whatever, and I look for those clips. Those are the only things I'll watch. Like, I will never turn on CNN in my house. Don't turn on MSNBC in my house. And none of those. I don't want anything to do with cable TV. It makes you stupider. But cable news. But for this, I have to look at the clips of Republicans being their most stupid, their most obstinate, their most obnoxious, their most inane. So that's how I do it. You all can, I don't tell anybody else what to do. If you want to watch, you watch, but that's your house. Ain't going on in my house. I'm coming home from a long day, of trying to hopefully educate folks, entertain folks, have some fun here. My other business, raising money for Democrats, all that stuff. And I don't do all that to go back, to my safe space, if you will, my home, where I don't have to look at Scott Jennings' ridiculous face. I don't have to look at the Kentucky bourbon dribbling out of his mouth and the opioids. I'll stop before I see something that gets me in trouble. In fact, he'd probably have a better excuse if he was doing that stuff. I have no idea. And then there's Joe and Mika. I was thinking of making them the headliners today too, because they also are having more special moments. But I think we'll save that for tomorrow. So you can look forward to that tomorrow. Today is Scott Jennings. And tomorrow we'll take care of Joe and Miko. The combination of the possibly three worst people on cable TV. And no, I don't count Fox because it's just, I mean, you could there, if you want to say, who are the worst people on a Lenny Riefenstahl propaganda outlet? And you'd be like, well, it could be Fox, it could be Newsmax, but Fox doesn't count. They're all terrible. So what shall we do? Let's get to Scott Jennings, and then we can go into Trump corruption. Also, just want to talk to you guys for a bit, see what you think. And when you sit up here, Rachel Maddow was always great. Lisa Green, I'm not saying to you, I should be clear. I'm not saying you're attacking every MSNBC host. I've met Rachel before. Seems like a nice person. I don't know her that well. I know Chris Hayes very well. I know Ari Melber pretty well. I mean, they were friends before they were ever on TV. I knew them. I haven't talked to either of them in a while. I don't think it's them. I think the cable format, particularly when you're owned by corporate media, when you're owned by Comcast, yes, they're trying to get rid of them. So maybe if somebody liberal buys them, it'll change. But right now, the cable news model makes everyone dumber. And it makes even the shows of people who I think are good people dumber. So take that for what you will. Lawrence, somebody said here Lawrence is one of the few. Maybe it's because he's not at 10 o'clock at night. They're not paying as close attention. He seems to break out of it and just message harshly and intelligently. He's one of the few. And it may be because, again, Ari's great and Chris is great and Rachel's great, but none of them, I think Ari may have, when he was very young, worked on, I want to say the Kerry campaign in 2004, but I don't think the other guys ever worked on any, and he didn't work on many. And I'm telling you, sometimes to cover things, it's easier to cover the financial markets if you worked on Wall Street, not as somebody who's going to be kissing their butts, but as a critic. Think of Michael Lewis, who's been a massive critic of Wall Street. Well, he worked at Salomon Brothers for 2 years during the crazy years when trading was nuts in the 80s, right? Movies like Wall Street. And there's probably rarely been a better critic of Wall Street than him because he understands what he's talking about. The problem with people that never worked on campaigns is they opine on campaigns and they often do not know what they're talking about. Even if they're very smart people. I've worked on hundreds in some capacity, directly on the ground, probably dozen, 2 dozen, and then in the capacity of doing direct mail polling, writing speeches, writing TV ads. I've worked on hundreds, if not more. And I'm sorry, but that does mean that when you see, like anything else, you see stuff over and over again, you learn about it. So love me some Oberman. Hold on to that. Jessica Tarlov is the exception to Fox. She's fantastic. Absolutely. Grumpy cat. And love me some Oberman, Isabella. Hold on to that. I'm working on that for potentially for launch day on Substack, but it's not definite yet. So you shouldn't be like, all right, we're going to work. We're going to try our best. We have a close friend of a friend there. Yeah, I mean, I loved Oberman when he had that 8 o'clock slot. He was built for that 8 o'clock slot. We needed him there. All right, so let us rip into one Scott Jennings. All right, Scott Jennings, guys. Went from little pissant in Kentucky who walked along like a puppy, tagging on, pulling on Mitch McConnell's pant leg. I mean, you would see him when I met my wife working against Mitch McConnell. Sadly, we didn't beat him, but Scott Jennings was everywhere. Oh, Mitch McConnell around here. Can I find him? I need him to throw some more corporate business my way. So Mr. McConnell here, let's find a way to corrupt the federal attorneys program, which Scott Jennings did do under Bush, and fire those we don't like. Yes, some of what Trump has made much worse started under Bush. I'm sure many of you know that. Corrupt, hack to the core, does not care about anything. Started one of the biggest corporate PR firms in Kentucky, based in Louisville or Lexington, I don't remember which again, if you had a real media, they'd say, how can a guy that has a corporate PR firm go on TV and talk about stuff? It is a massive conflict of interest, right? I mean, but we're in the world where Donald Trump can hold on to his investments and be president. Elon Musk can go in and disable his competitors at the Treasury. So, I mean, who cares if Jennings has all these corporate clients paying him God knows so much money to go on CNN and make it sound like when they pollute rivers and they poison food and they rip people off with fees at the banks and things like that, they're just doing God's work down here in Kentucky. He was just always a little striver, always a little pathetic haunch, always just So Scott Jennings just got humiliated big time on CNN and is frankly freaking glorious, guys. Okay. Let's all gather around the campfire for this one. So I want to talk about it because it was an absolute beatdown of Scott Jennings on CNN. Absolute beatdown. I mean, he took the L's like the L's are a full-time job. If you haven't seen it yet, guys, don't worry. I'm going to show you all of these segments in a video we'll put together. But needless to say it's like a punching bag actually punching itself. If it grew and evolved an extra arm and punched itself in the face, that was Scott Jennings. First, there's Abby Phillips, as I told you. He threw his arse out like a bad poker hand, you could say. Just smacking down every little pathetic sob story, defending Elon, defending Trump. Again, first he defended a couple weeks ago Elon with the big smile, if you want to do the rhyme with that. Yes, in his Himmler-esque glory, he defended that. Oh, it was a Roman salute. So at that time, Catherine Rampell was like, okay, that's a Roman salute. Do it. I dare you. Do it right now on live TV. And then that's when Scott Jennings becomes he gets a little ball, like he's still that little guy, that little coward, just biting on nipping on McConnell's heels. And he's just like, oh, what? Can we change the subject? Can I do anything else? Help? He's ducking under their desk because, of course, he wasn't going to do it on live TV at the end of his career because he knew what it was. But now it's liberal judges blocking our agenda. Well, how gosh darn them liberal judges. Now, remember, of course, a stacked and stolen Supreme Court has never enforced a right-wing agenda. It didn't get rid of 70 years of precedent on gun law, 100 years of precedent on money in politics. What was it in the end? 50 years of precedent on abortion rights and women's rights law, overturned 50, 60, 70 years of precedent on voting rights law. We can go on and on. Yeah, that's right. They're not an activist court at all. No. But in any case, Scott was crying little tears because liberal judges are just blocking him. They're just blocking Trump's agenda. And the funniest point was when she pointed out to him that he knew nothing because he never knows anything. She's like, yeah, so you know about those 5 judges that you're talking about? Right. They were appointed by Reagan, George W. Bush, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump. Oh my gosh, liberal judges. And the look on his face as he sank down, like, oh, you're still liberal judges. Yes, Trump and George W. Bush and Reagan were known to appoint liberal judges. Or these are some of the ones that actually take their judgeship seriously, and you're so crazy and right-wing and ridiculous and anti-constitutional that either they loathe you because you've gone beyond the bend, or they've just decided that there's no way they possibly can support what you're saying because it's so clearly illegal. So honestly, he looked like he walked into a rat trap, which would be just about what is right for him, if we're being honest. I mean, she was just like, buddy, the look on her face, and you could see it in the thumbnail I gave you. I got you. You're busted. You're lying. At least you can try to bring some facts next time. A fact? Do you have a fact? Anything? He had nothing. And then there's my friend who actually lives in Cincinnati. We've talked, Swin, as I like to call him, because I can never pronounce his last name. If you guys know Aswin Subasang, I'm mispronouncing it, but he's a Cincinnati guy right now. Rolling Stone. And he just dunks on Jennings like he dunks on Jennings like it's the All-Star game. He's going up against Michael Jordan, all right, in practice. It's a beautiful thing. So he called him out for lying to our faces about Trump stealing classified documents, which of course Trump did, and we all know he did, and there was a case against him, and it was being brought. And Eileen Cannon kept blocking it and delaying it and whatever, and we all know how that story ends. Again, remember, Trump was like stuffing national secrets into his diaper and, into his, putting an envelope in his mailbox, if you will. Any way you can get those things out of there, he was doing, and storing them in the crapper at Mar-a-Lago, which is really just a great story about Donald Trump because that's the class that he has. But Jennings, of course, is the victim now. Oh, the case was liberal judges against him. And, Eileen Cannon was a conservative judge and was literally chastised by other judges who had been appointed by Republicans for the fact that she was fully ignoring the law, and they were contemplating bringing up action against her, hired court judges. Swin, as he tried to spin it, honestly just stood there and shook his head and kind of laughed at him and just like, what are you talking about? He called it nonsense, and he referred to him as both insane and unserious. Yes. This is what I like. This is Democrats and members of the media saying it how it should be said. No, none of this wimpy, well, shame on you, or you're not, you shouldn't say that. No, you're insane, okay? And you're unserious. You're a clown. You're a liar. You're a political night walker. Shut up. He didn't say all of that. Would have been nice. But again, calling somebody insane and unserious who works for CNN, good work. And of course, that's how most of us describe him and most of their party. So it's not like it was crazy. Jennings did his thing, right? Like he then went on again, and he was on with Abby Phillips and Bakari Sellers. And he could not answer a question from Sellers because he kept trying to sit there and lie about a variety of topics. I want to get you the best one of any of them. 1 second, my friends, because this one is particularly good. So if I don't quote it exactly, I will be sad. Let's hope I can find it here. Somebody play the Jeopardy music. Do. All right, this discussion revolved around Elon Musk, of course, and government conflicts. And Jennings, of course, said, "Oh, there are no conflicts. Everything will be all right. Everything's going to be all right." I mean, why would Elon Musk break the law except for every time he breathes, he breaks the law? I mean, he's only an emerald apartheid baby. So this is almost like a double team. Abby Phillips, and Bakari Sellers just back and forth ripping him. He tried to say that Doge was being transparent. Right. And they, of course, said, well, then which programs are being cut? Why are they being cut? To which Scott Jennings has no answer, as he normally does. But of course, he did what he did. Remember, I talked about the misdirection before? He's like, well, you just won't give him any credit. You think Donald Trump does everything bad, and you just attack him and blah, blah, blah. And then he went after, Bakari Sellers, former Democratic state lawmaker, and pretty good on TV. He went after him. This is funny. Watch. This is from Scott Jennings. Couple of things. Number one, you guys are way out over your skis with accusations and innuendo. I mean, what you're essentially alleging would be the biggest corruption in any of our lifetimes. Yes, it would. And it is. You have no way in the world of making those accusations in a credible way. But here you are doing it. Number one, number two. And he kept trying to get to his talking points. And then Abby Phillips first jumped in and said, just to clarify, because I think you're accusing me of saying that these things are happening. She said to Jennings, these things are happening. And we have proof of it. And she started to list, they started to both list off the manner in which it was quite clear that Doge was not providing accountability. Do we know this? Do we know that? Are you sharing this with us? Why is it that Elon Musk has gone in and some of his competitors we've found have been fired from their jobs? People that were investigating him have been shut out and been fired. What's he doing at the Treasury that all of that's happening? Is that just a magical coincidence? They didn't say we know, but it's pretty clear what's going on. People investigating him, here it is. What I said was, from Abby, Elon Musk's companies were being investigated by the government. The people investigating him have been fired and their offices are disbanded. Those are both facts. So the question is, how do we know that Elon is not benefiting from it? And the answer is, we don't know. Well, of course, that's just common sense. And then every time she would say something like that, Bakari would sit there and be like, fact. Where are your facts, Scott? Scott had nothing that he could reply with. He just sat there and just went, give us facts. Give us facts. Tell us what they've told us. Where's the transparency? What have they told us they've done? How much have they told us they've cut from any given program? How have they told us they've done it? Nothing. There's no answer to any of this. So all you can do is slam judges, pretend that, it's all their fault. They're all like liberals, those Trumpian liberals. And again, left with this look on his face like he was a fool. Finally, the best line of all. And that was the one I saved for the thumbnail. Where, he was trying to argue this case with the judges, and she just, and Abby Phillips, finally enough, and just went like this with her hand. She's like, if you would just listen to me, listen for a second. She's like, I'll say it a little bit slower. He lost it. How dare you talk to me like that? How dare you? I'm a Southern white gentleman and you're a black lady. I know that's what he was thinking. You can't talk to me like that. I'll say it a little slower for you. Classic. He lost it. And these all have happened within like 72 hours. So it's fun to see CNN being massively embarrassed, and to see Scott Jennings being massively embarrassed. And the fact that like Scott Jennings is just a punching bag punching himself, as I said earlier, right? He's a guy walking into rakes right now on CNN. He's a guy who thinks, he's throwing salt over his shoulder, but he picks up a frying pan filled with grease and throws it into his face. That's Scott Jennings at this point. He's like the O.J. Simpson character from The Naked Gun, before O.J. Simpson murdered people, when we found him funny, who kept harming himself. Actually, Drebin kept harming him in every way possible, but you get the point. So all of these folks took him apart. He can't out-argue anybody on CNN. They've all crushed him. He's an embarrassment. He's a loser. He's a liar. And the key point is he stands for nothing except for, destroying our democracy and loading his pockets with corporate cash from conflicts of interest. Kick his butt off of CNN, or keep watching your ratings decline because no one's ever watching you again. You suck, guys. And if you want Scott Jennings to be the face of that, God bless you. Enjoy your 20% ratings eventually. That is my takedown of Scott Jennings. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the volume stayed on the whole time. That was longer than I meant it to be honest with you. We have to cut that one down to a part 1 and a part 2. Nevertheless, important. That's the thing is, exactly, Stephanie. Jennings gets paid to kick himself in the balls. Pretty much. I mean, honestly, if you hired somebody for a day to walk around just kick themselves in the nuts, that's Scott Jennings right now. Because essentially, and I know he gets all his little corporate PR money, so he's getting money from left, right, center. Who knows? Maybe Putin sent him a little greetings card with some rubles in it. Don't know. But CNN is paying him to make a fool of himself, because there are no, if you could make a coherent argument in favor of Donald Trump or Elon Musk's policies or behavior, you would. But there is none, because Donald Trump cannot himself give a policy and a reason why he's doing it. As bad as George W. Bush was and Ronald Reagan was, and you've heard me say many bad things about both of them and how they changed this country for the far worse, they could, at least on certain policies, even ones that were bad, explain what they were trying to accomplish. I think George W. Bush, and again, I don't want to hear folks to like, oh, well, now you're defending George W. Bush. I've just sat here and talked about how much worse he made things. Iraq, torture, everything. He was a horrible president, bottom 6 or 7, maybe bottom 4 presidents. It's just Donald Trump's the worst. Reagan, they always like, oh, he's charismatic. With what he did in changing the trajectory of this country economically, so we started embracing all this ridiculous me, and not following the path Western Europe did. That's why we are where we are now, with vast disparities of wealth and billionaires controlling policy, people starving, people without health care. That goes back to Reagan's, and people, thinking they get the right to own any weapon they want and don't have to do anything they don't want to do that the government tells them. That started with Reagan, a lot of that. So don't think I'm saying anything nice about them. I'm just saying comparatively, they had justifications for their policies, even though often they were stupid and the policies were stupid. This guy cannot even give a basic Donald Trump explanation of what it is he's doing and how it would benefit us. And with our media today, he doesn't even have to do it. And that's what Scott Jennings is trying to defend. So yeah, he has to kick himself in the nuts about 47 times a day. Because I'll dare any of you out there, and you know what? I'll give you a prize if you defeat me. If you can find one policy that you can argue that Donald Trump has accurately provided, see, I'm going to make you work against your beliefs here, accurately provided a reasoning for, but an intelligent reasoning. Even if it's a bad policy, there has to be behind it the undergirding of, well, we're doing this, we're doing B because of A. I haven't seen it. You know, it's like, well, we're building a wall. And you're like, well, let's see. Okay, so there are more people deported before. We've got fewer folks coming into the country right now trying to enter the country. And most of the folks who come in here and stay here undocumented do it through a work visa or an educational visa, the way your wife did it and the way Elon Musk did it when they stayed here illegally and became citizens and worked here illegally. And we've never kicked them out, by the way. But that's, you know, a little bit of a side story. Point being, that is how it happens. I don't know if you guys knew this, but airplanes that fly in people on educational programs and work programs, they can fly over walls. So that would be an example of a policy Trump's given, like an actual policy supports that has no basis in truth behind it, that it could actually do anything. But if you can come up with one, I'll give you something. What do you want? We'll come up with a cool hat, a cool Cliff's Edge hat, and I will give it to you. But you got to come up with that. Because George W. Bush did. Say what you will about him. What he did with AIDS in Africa, he said, you know, he understood USAID and those programs, unlike Donald Trump, and said, this is going to not just save lives in Africa, this is going to help America's image around the world among people in Africa, which we need a lot of repair after what George W. Bush did in Iraq and other places. And it is going to benefit us because fewer Americans will end up getting this disease because of this. Right? Good policy, smart reasoning. I don't think George W. Bush had lots of those. Hell, even look, his reasoning, even his policy of leave no child behind, like there was an intelligent basis behind it. The problem is they wouldn't fund it adequately, and they put a one-size-fit-all approach in, so it didn't work. So nobody liked it. If they'd funded it adequately, funded public schools adequately, and said, we're going to come to you where you are. We're going to look at your student population. We're going to look at their backgrounds, educational, regional, whatever it might be, and we're going to educate in different schools with the funds we provide you in the best ways possible, and we're going to leave no child behind. That could have been a signature and brilliant program. Said it was an underfunded, stupid program where they tried to have one size fits all, even though, you know, California is not Alabama and Wisconsin, you know, isn't Oklahoma. And, you know, and frankly, even within states, Hamilton County here in Cincinnati isn't Claremont County out there in the rural areas. There are different challenges and different students. You need to cater it to that. But he was trying something good. He got it wrong. I'm not even sure Donald Trump's ever even tried anything good, has he? That would help anybody else besides him or billionaires that give him money? Would you say, oh my God, the straws, I can't? Yes. Is that the, Veronica, the plastic straws? I'm going to get the plastic straws back. That's what we're all missing. I promise you. It's not that the price of eggs is like $10 to $15 a dozen, which, by the way, Donald Trump was going to bring that down, or that you're ignoring avian flu, and I'm sure that won't come back to bite us, even as by raising egg prices, but also by, you know, killing some of us. The gasoline's going through the roof. Good job. Good job starting a trade war that you ended at the last second because you're a wuss. But talking trade war with Canada, our biggest supplier of gas, of fossil fuels. No, it's not Saudi Arabia and people you've seen on TV that you think it is. I'm not saying talking to you guys. It's Canada. That probably was for some of the reason for the spike. I'm sure there are others. But everything's going up. Groceries up. All that stuff you said you're going to do, you're not doing. It's the opposite direction, you putz. What is it you're doing? Oh, right. Straws. How about you bring the price down of eggs, you schmuck? Huh? How about you stop sharing secret information with Putin, you dolt? How about you repair relationships with members of NATO instead of going out there and saying, I've talked to Putin and we're going to negotiate to end the war. Yeah, there's a third party in that called Ukraine, and they have a right in their own national sovereignty. So no, you and Putin don't just get to do that. And I'm sure NATO is going to tell you that real soon. Get out of our backyard, maybe the response there. The proper response would involve a word with the letters F and U in it, and some others. What else we got? We'll get to. I've been going for a while here, so I want to thank folks. I'm going to come back to my evangelizing. Please, Patreon, my friends, Patreon. Extra videos there, and as we get to amp up, once this big relaunch at Substack's done, there'll be regular stuff going there. So go subscribe there. We will have a ton of stuff for free, and then there'll be some extra stuff for those willing to pay. What's not a small fee. And then at Patreon will be where extra videos will go. And I've promised already 2 a week. I think I fell behind. I owe you another one. So maybe what I'll do is I'll get you one in the middle of the week and one at the end of the week. We'll catch up. But you start blowing that Patreon up for me so it gets bigger and I can, do less of consulting other things I do and spend more time on that. We'll get more than 2 videos. It'll be 3. It'll be 4. I'm happy to make you guys videos, honestly, almost every day to tell you what I think is going on if you're willing to join Patreon. And maybe we'll do that at a certain level. But please join. Did I see Milo on Tim Pool? Like 2 of the most despicable human beings alive. I did not see that. Did Tim Pool wear his little hat again because he's bald? Tim, it's okay to be bald. Just be proud, man. If I were bald, I'd be proud. Thankfully, God has gifted me with this wonderful, beautiful. No, I'm just kidding. Luckily, I've got some hair still. So, but I'll tell you this, if I lose enough of it at any point in my life, I'm not going to wear a beanie around all the time like I'm Kenny on South Park. I'm shaving that damn thing. Bald is beautiful. There you go, Kelly Star. Yeah, I've got a number of friends who've gone with the shave, and I am absolutely 100% in that direction. There's not going to be, they call it summer hair. Some is here and some is there. I will not have summer hair. If I get to the point where large patches fall out of places, then we're taking it all off. But I can promise you this: I'll wear baseball caps sometimes. I wear them now. It's not to hide anything. That's because those are comfortable. I will not be wearing a beanie except for when it's freezing out. Like a day like today here, I'll wear a beanie. That's because my ears get cold. Cliff has great hair. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm kind of excited that I hit my 50s and I still have pretty good hair. I mean, that wasn't a foregone conclusion. But, we all have some good things and bad things. I promise you I got plenty of bad. Cliff's Edge. I like the walking videos from Lefty Grips. Cool. I need to do more of those. I'll do more of those both for Patreon and just for the shorts in general. I like doing those too, actually. I will say, and I know if anybody knows this, Lefty Gramps, you do. What's cut down a little bit on those lately is how freaking freezing it is out. Maybe I can just bundle up and go do it. But I actually really love those a lot. What's cool also that you're going to start seeing is that it saves me time and lets me, get you guys more content. Isn't the wonderful world of AI? No, it's not AI. It's really me. But this StreamYard now so when this is over, StreamYard will decide that there are 3 1-minute or under clips that they think are good. They may be wrong. And they will through AI create a couple clips for me. So I'll do that. And I'll also do walk and talks, I promise you. And I'll do more of them. It's been cold and there's all that. And again, I've been planning to learn more on here, which I have. Not yet the video, whatever, but I want the StreamYard to get better. I've wanted the Patreon to get better. And that was a big project and we did. And I say we because Veronica in here helped me a lot and is awesome. I wanted the Substack to get to the point where we're going to have this big launch. And again, I don't want to give away too much, but you guys are going to love it because we are going to have a big presence there, which means we are going to get guests galore that you're going to love. So I've been doing a lot of stuff. So that plus the cold has led to a fewer walk and talks, but I will get you more. I promise you. I like those a lot. Those are fun. They're just relaxed. They're easy. I tell you what I'm thinking. Do I want a Cliff's Edge logo, Jonathan Black? I do have a Cliff's Edge logo. Haven't you seen it? If you think you can do better, I mean, I can't sit here and offer you money. I have a logo I kind of like, but you know, if you want to take a shot at it, sure. I mean, there is something up top here on the thing. You can kind of see a logo. Oh, I didn't mean to even tap on that, but it's an interesting point, Matthew Tarpley. Yeah, well, see, there's the male pattern baldness. Some of you may not know this. That's the chromosomal. It is the same thing as oh, come on. Well, it's color blindness, and as what's the disease where you your blood doesn't clot? I had a teacher who had that. It's driving me crazy. I can't think of it. Starts with like a D. Come on. Okay, so there are a couple of these things that are carried by the mother in the X chromosome. I'm going to give you an interesting lesson here, and some of you may already know this. Well, like, women can go bald too, Francie, but here's the deal: hemophilia. Thank you. Femur gets the gold star there, and WW came in with it too, and everybody. Okay, you all got it. I'm dumb, Cynthia. I just couldn't think of it actually. So hemophilia, red-green color blindness, and you should all know I have red-green color blindness. I've worked within those confines. I have a lighter, more moderate case, so I can see a lot of reds and greens and differences, but there are some things where it's kind of mixed up. And male pattern baldness. Those are all carried by the mother. The way it works is the mother will have it on an X chromosome that she inherited from her father. But if you have another X, which means you're a woman, obviously, the other X is dominant. So if you have an X without the stuff on it, you don't get any of it. And it's only like 1 in 100 cases, many fewer, that a woman would get it on both X's and get it. So that's why you do get women who have male pattern baldness, and you do have women who get color blindness, but men get these different things 10 times more often because we have a Y. So if it's on the X that you inherit, you got it. That's the deal. The Y will, because women are stronger than men, as you all know, and cooler and smarter. Tsar Nicholas's son was a hemophiliac. Yes, Paul Young, I was going to bring that up because the teacher who taught me in the 5th grade in my school in New York, his dad wrote a book on Tsar Nicholas and how and Russia and how that happened. That may have taken so much of his attention. They said that may have led the empire to fall. That seems a little exaggerated, but because this teacher of mine had hemophilia, so the author of that book, who's a historian, he was basing it on his son. I could look him up. Like, it's sort of a famous case. Author book on Caesar. Son was hemophiliac teacher. Let's see. Come on. So give me who wrote the book, the author. Ah, there you go. So it was Robert Massey wrote the book. He was a historian. His son, Mr. Massey, was one of my teachers where I went, Grace Church School in New York City, a nice liberal Episcopalian school. Trying to remember what his son's name was, who taught us. He taught us music and a few other things. There he is, Bob Massey. And I'm looking at a picture of him right now. Yep. So that was our teacher. So it's just fascinating, interesting story that he wrote this book, and I had the guy's son as a teacher. We got a lot into hair, and then we got into all sorts of stuff. That's kind of why I like this show. It's interesting. So right now, okay, I asked for Patreon subscribers, please, and whatever. But can I ask, how about a couple along the way of anybody throw in a super chat, super sticker, small, big, medium, not so medium? I don't think we've gotten any yet this show. Nope, I am wrong. I missed them when I was doing my thing. We've gotten 3, so I'm a moron. I'm going to read them out. Benny Loco, $5. Thank you, Benny. That's what the name of the cab was in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall. I don't know if you knew that, Benny, but It's neither here nor there. $50 billion a year. Wonder what America would do with that extra 200 a month they would spend on cable. Yeah, a lot. As those of us who've cut down on cable, I think I told you I only have it in one part of our house because in case we weren't able to get local news from some other stuff, and very rarely we get tornadoes here, but we do. There are reasons to get local news. Otherwise, I cut the cord completely. But we've cut the cord out of all of our other TVs. Please freely share your cash opinion. I need to hear it today, Kelly Starr. Kelly, let me know if you want me to share my opinion of what I think of him, which will take a while with all of the various adjectives and adverbs I might use. Do I think he'll make it? Look, I thought Matt Gaetz had no chance. I was right. I thought Pete Hegseth had no chance. And these guys literally beclowned themselves yet again to put Pete Hegseth, even if you took away all the charges against him, all of the ways he is emotionally unbalanced, the alcoholism, all of that. He's never managed an organization that big. He has no business being anywhere near that. And that should have been enough for Republicans. And it would have been 20 years ago. He would have never made it during George W. Bush's term. He would have been rejected. Even then, the Republican Party wasn't where they are now. And now it even looks like Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, it's amazing to me. Tulsi Gabbard has a shot. I mean, I think Murkowski's come out against her, but if I haven't heard anything from a few of the other so-called moderates that aren't so-called moderate. I haven't heard anything from Tom Tillis. I haven't heard anything from other folks. So she's in. If Collins has already come out in favor of her, so we literally are putting somebody we know is a spy in that office. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's surreal that this is America. And it looks like, again, the guy who's tangentially related to JFK Jr., who's a complete idiot and, has a love affair with whales' heads and dead cubs and God knows what else, actually could land in that position. I still have hope, though, that there's a few other Republicans who have questioned it. I still have hope that that will not happen. But I mean, if you're going to ask me right now, I would never, ever give Republicans the benefit of the doubt. I think Kash Patel's got a shot. Or maybe they think Kash Patel is so dangerous that they're willing to put these other people on there because Kash Patel has basically listed Republicans he's going to go after. They always hate the converts more. He's going to go after their own people before any of us. So if you're a Republican in there, like if you are a McConnellite or one of the people that Trump hates, and Kash is running the FBI, you actually have an incentive to not put him there. So I'm not ready to say he's going to make it yet. That's my freely shared opinion. But he shouldn't have a shot, and he does have a shot. And that's, again, there's nothing left to argue for. I really do think there's a sort of modicum of decency to Lisa Murkowski. What's she doing in that party anymore? And there's maybe 2 or 3 House members who've shown a modicum of decency anymore in the Republican Party. What are they doing there? What are you doing? I'm pro-choice. I voted for background checks. I voted for climate. Voted for this or that. But I'm a Republican. Like, they don't believe any of that anymore. They don't even believe in science anymore. It's not like the old Republican Party that believed it, but tried to slow walk it, or they came up with market-friendly solutions. They just don't even believe it anymore. Ridiculous. Sheldon Hughes, my man, always here. How much would Jennings make per episode? I don't know that. But I promise you, I would be shocked if he's making anything under $1 million a year there. Anchors these days are usually in the $4 to $8 million range, maybe 3 on the low end. You have a great rated show, but somebody, because they want him there clearly very badly for access to McConnell and, other stuff. It's a bridge to the Bush world and all of that, which they don't get through Trump people. I would be willing to bet he's making 100. He's making $1 million a year to show up on TV and be a complete ass. So whatever that comes down per episode, I don't know how often he's on because, as I said, I don't watch. Carolina Childers, thank you for the $10 super chat. Jumped right in after I said that. You are fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really helpful. Francie Ryle with the $3 super sticker. Thank you. Again, Francie, you've been here a number of days. You're starting to enter that upper echelon. Although Carolina, I think, also gave yesterday. Benny's a few times. Got some repeat folks here. Some of you other guys are going to have to jump in the fray. filling out a hell of a lineup. And Torby Cat, thank you. Another for the $5 super, not super sticker, super chat. Thank you so much. That is outstanding. You guys are all outstanding. And again, wasn't sitting here saying like, we're going to argue over this for a while, or you can, we're going to talk about this for a while. It's more of a thing where you're kind enough to give that to me. So let's talk about some other stuff. I'll ask once more, probably the way I usually do when we're heading towards the end of the proceedings. Veronica, 500,000 per episode. Yeah, I don't think it's that much. Or he's not making more money than CNN anchors, right? So he's not making 5, 6, 7 million, something like that. I don't even think he's making 3 or 4. But again, he could be making 2. Think how offensive that is. Everything about him is execrable. He's just let's just start with the prefix we started with there. He's human excrement is what he is. Turvy Cat, Puerto Rico and DC need to become states. That's where I slightly disagree with you, Turvy Cat. And I'm going to tell you why. Because our ambitions are never big enough. We're not like Republicans who shoot for the stars, and then you end up with something in the middle. Puerto Rico and DC should not just be states. The Northern Marianas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Guam should be states. Those are all territories. I'm going to say what I've said many times before. The 19th century called. It wants its territories and its manifest destiny back. Territories? Stacey Plaskett stood up. One of the most effective members of Congress in there from the U.S. Virgin Islands, helped lead one of the two. The second one, impeachment against Trump. Brilliant. And she stood up when they elected Mike Johnson and pointed out how 5 million people were not being heard from with representatives there because that day. Now, the only thing I would accept is some people will say, okay, the Northern Marianas and Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands are combined have a couple million people. Or no, 1 million people, I think it is. Is that what it is? I think it's something like 800,000. Well, that's what Wyoming has. So if somebody wanted to say the Northern Marianas doesn't have enough on its own with 100,000 for two senators, that's fine. I can listen to that argument. But there's enough common interests with all of them as territories and islands and this and that then they all need to have votes, and when they need to be 2 senators from those 3 territories together. So what I'm saying to you is there need to be at least 6 new senators. I'd argue 8 to 10. And say, screw it. I don't care if there's only 100,000 people. Nobody stopped Wyoming when they had like 400,000 people from having 2 senators. And they're all the way up there at like 575 now. Woo! There's more cows than people in that damn state. I've missed some kind things. Quantum Cricket with a $5 super sticker. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Jonathan Black with a, oops. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Jennings renewed his contract 12-24, 500,000 annually. Okay, that's very believable. Less than I thought they would pay him to kiss his butt, but yeah, 500,000, very believable. Just think about that. That's one of the few things he does. He goes on CNN for a couple hours, probably not even every day. Some days and whatever, and just for a couple hour job here and there, he makes $500,000 to lie constantly and to undermine our Constitution. Great work, destroying countries if you can get it. We have to make our future again. We sure do. Perspicacious. We're going to. I saw somebody in there saying Democrats need to get tougher and whatever, but I've shown you some of these signs. We've talked about it. They're not perfect. They're not doing it great. And there are a few who have joined in and voted for Republicans. Fetterman, as we've talked about, I don't know what happened to him, and I don't want to get into a big discussion about it. I'm going to wait a little bit longer, but at some point I'm going to go off on him. He is, but a couple of others who I respect, like Mark Kelly voted for 1 or 2 of them. And the point isn't, there may have been 1 or 2 of them. I mean, like, is there any reason why Marco Rubio can't be Secretary of State? He's fine. I mean, does he have the experience you'd want somebody to have? No, but he has served a couple Senate terms, right? He was in the State House Speaker. He understands politics with having a background from a Cuban family that immigrated here. Again, I'm not getting into his integrity or anything like that. I can't stand him. He has enough relevant experience that you could argue Marco Rubio could be voted for. But here's the thing. He shouldn't be, because this is an illegitimate administration. It doesn't follow democracy. And therefore, if you want to show yourself as different, if you want to draw a line in the sand and make the messaging clear that they're illegitimate, we stand up for the vast majority of Americans' positions and beliefs. We stand up for the America, for our Constitution, for your freedoms, then you can't vote for any of them. So I don't care that, if for me, objectively, I can't think of anything that Marco Rubio has done on the level of some of these other ones. I mean, what's her face, who's had her face redone 14 times, Gravel Pit McGee, who likes to shoot puppies. I wouldn't have put her at Department of Homeland Security, because anybody who takes a puppy somewhere and blows it away is a sociopath. And that would be enough for me. She also illegally got her daughter a real estate license without having to take a test, so she's shown corruption. Again, normal for Trump. We're pretending it's not a Trump administration. So no, I wouldn't. I'm talking about what I would do. I would never support her. Elise Stefanik helped push the Great Replacement theory, which helped get those folks killed up in Buffalo, and other people killed around the country. She's human scum. She's just like Nancy Mace, somebody who ran as a moderate and then became MAGA as soon as it suited her. I'd never vote for her. Marco Rubio, objectively, and maybe you guys could convince me out of it and find stuff that I've forgotten about or not seen, I would consider voting for in a different administration. If it were a reasonable Republican administration, I might say, okay. I still think it'd be better if he did something else in between, being a senator and that. But senators have foreign policy experience. He sat in some of those committees. He's from a very international city and area. Again, speaks at least 2 languages, right? Is an immigrant here. I think there's some argument to be made for that being a good background for a Secretary of State. I wish he had more international experience. I would make him an ambassador somewhere first for 2 years before I did that. So I still would like him to have more experience, but I'm saying maybe, that's somebody in a different administration I would vote for, but not this one. Because the point is that this administration, you don't vote for anybody. So I was going to, to go back to what we were talking about before on Tulsi Gabbard, this is a great statement here from Mark Kelly. And I'm going to read it. Healthy skepticism is a good thing, but when someone consistently embraces sensational but poorly supported claims while dismissing the thorough assessment of our intelligence community, it becomes dangerous. That's why I pressed Congresswoman Gabbard during the hearing about her disputing Assad's use of chemical weapons against his own people in Syria, but rather than ease my concerns, she confirmed them, said Kelly. He's voting against her. I'm happy about that. But maybe some of you know better than me, because I like Kelly a lot. He's so much like the right guy when Sinema was the wrong guy, but I know that he's voted for 1 or 2 of them. I'm not going to make that a line in the sand, but strategically, can Democrats just stop being stupid? Mark Kelly, come on, man. Arizona's a swing state. You're a hero. You're an astronaut. You won twice convincingly. You don't need to do that. You just don't. You should spend that time when you're voting for them making the argument about how this is an illegitimate fascist administration and you'd like to work in a bipartisan way with a moderate Republican administration that actually believed in the rule of law. So when one comes along, you'll do it. But again, overall, I think Mark Kelly's been very good. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, that's not the right phrase. We cannot hold people to purity contests. They're going to do some things we don't like. So even again at the beginning with Kelly is a great hubby. Yeah, I saw you seeing Kelly's star. I see what you're saying about what he did for Gabby Giffords. I mean, yeah, he gave up his career to be by her bedside. He's a terrific husband. He's terrific at a lot of stuff. But again, we have to look beyond that to the political stuff. I'm saying he's mostly good. I wish he had made it clear he wasn't voting for anybody for that reason. Grumpy Cat's leaving. Thanks, Liv, for the show. I got to shovel snow. I'll be right there with you relatively soon. But so at first with Fetterman, again, I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt until they prove after enough time or something that they don't deserve it. I'll still give it to Kelly. I'll still give it to a couple of the other Republican Democrats who voted for a few of the Republicans who I can stomach and say they're wrong and whatever, and you should, even though I don't think you should vote for any of them, but there's no, if you vote for any of these characters, there's no forgiveness. And I don't think Fetterman did in the end. No, he did vote for Stefanik, although I think a few of them did. I'd have to look. It's more that Fetterman has been undermining the party. He was this great new hope for the party, this guy that was sort of walked around in shorts and didn't fit the mold of a regular politician and ripped into MAGA and ripped into Dr. Oz. It was so much fun when covering that campaign because the type of takedown stuff, the type of stuff I was talking about today that happened to Scott Jennings and whatever. I could, what Jasmine Crockett did to Elon Musk. I could show you some of those types of videos of what Fetterman did, and then just look at what's happened to him. Like, he really thinks he needs to become a Republican to win in Pennsylvania? You're going to lose your progressive base too. I think they're already gone. Now, I didn't come from the Bernie wing of the party, and I supported the hell out of him because I thought he was a good politician who came from outside of the box, would appeal to a lot of those kinds of people that don't like regular politicians, was basically very much, I agreed with him on a lot of things, and I thought he could win, and I was right. That was all true. But now what he's doing is just something funny with the switcheroo, Paul Young. Yeah, well, I'd like to know what it is. Cynthia Rice, I met Fetterman when he was lieutenant governor. He wasn't like he is now. Again, I'm not saying this in any way that anyone should take it, I'm just saying this scientifically. It has been proven that there are people who because personality traits don't change that much, except for after major life events that change brain chemistry. He had a stroke that changed his brain chemistry. Does that mean, again, I'm not making an accusation and I'm not saying I know. I'm throwing out, could it be that? Maybe there's people in here who know more than me, who know more about these things than I do and can say, because I don't know if that was it or something else. But whatever it is, I'm there already. And I didn't jump on him right away because, again, I think we play purity too much. It's stupid. It's about power. It's about winning and passing as much of your agenda as you can. So when he said one or two stupid things, 3 or 4 stupid things, I said, okay, he's pissing me off. He's annoying me, but I'm not turning on Fetterman yet. But we're well beyond the Rubicon at this point. He said so many harmful things. Trump never should have been prosecuted. And, I don't know. I can't even remember some of the ones. They're awful. So somebody get ready to primary this a-hole because we're done. And I'm not sure what he was accomplishing. I mean, he's a guy who legitimately, being from Pennsylvania, being that side of an outside of the box guy, very legitimately could have been a vice presidential candidate. President, I don't think so, just because I think with somebody who'd had a stroke, putting them at the top of the ticket would be too complicated. But I think he could have been a terrific vice presidential candidate. Right state, that he was from, the right way, the right appeal he had to people, all of that. And he's destroyed it. Would anybody ever trust him again? I wouldn't make him a vice president. I wouldn't put him in a cabinet. And I don't want him in the Senate anymore. Over a Republican? Sure. But we can do better. Yeah. Manchin was the oil and coal. Manchin was a joke. Came from an old line Democratic family, just one of these spoiled brats. Elon Musk and the Emerald Mine and Donald Trump getting $400 million. Joe Manchin's, I want to say, grandfather was Secretary of State of West Virginia. His dad was a mayor of a big town there. His family was in the coal business. He inherited, and bought into part of a coal mine. The guy was making decisions on EPA bills and was making $500,000, kind of like Scott Jennings' salary. Except for the difference is that Scott Jennings at least shows up on TV to say stupid things. I don't think Manchin had to do a damn thing. It's a passive investment. It just paid him $500,000 to do nothing. But I don't regret that we put him there. I don't, because in the end, we had Democratic leadership, and it's awful and stupid. And as he undermined us at times, and he didn't let us get rid of those stupid Senate rules that would have changed a lot, we were never getting another Democrat from West Virginia, and we likely never will again. That was it. So it wasn't like Kyrsten Sinema, where it was like, you can get much better. And it's not like John Fetterman right now, where it's like, you can get much better. It doesn't mean Manchin had to be that bad. As I pointed out before, Doug Jones was from as Republican a state as West Virginia and was to the left of Kyrsten Sinema. Same with, what's his face? Tester, who recently lost, not quite as Republican a state as I'm, but a very Republican state. And he always stood up for what he believed in. And you know what? He stood up again and he won against the tide last time and was able to hang in there. like in a growing, more conservative state, but eventually all these weird little incels that turn out when Trump's on the ticket, a lot of them don't vote down ballot, but enough of them did. Same thing here in Ohio. Benny, thank you for the $2 super sticker. I appreciate it. Ooh, Soulcraft. I worked on the Jones campaign. It must have been amazing. Jones is the best of us. And again, see, there's a classic example. He was a moderate. I don't agree with him on everything. Okay? I didn't agree with him on everything. But he had an Alabama electorate. And the fact that he got elected there was a miracle in and of itself. And the dude was a national hero. Okay? He put the people away who blew up the Baptist church that killed the little girls. That's a saint as far as I'm concerned. So Doug Jones, I think, was terrific. And that's the thing, is we all need to have those kinds of open minds. You don't have to agree with somebody on everything. And agree with Sherrod Brown on everything here. In fact, like you almost shouldn't agree with anybody on every single thing. So it's fine. Doug Jones was different than me on some positions. He's more conservative than me. My God, having somebody center left to centrist in like from Alabama in there for 3 years? It's a hell of a 3 years. Getting that vote from there, well to the left of Manchin. We all loved him before the stroke. Iva, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are saying he was the same before, not like forever, but maybe right before, whatever it was. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know if they've got something on him or no, whatever. I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to accomplish. I mean, I guess maybe he thinks Trump, he's Trump's kind of guy. Maybe he thinks he'll be put in the cabinet or something. It is sort of amazing to me, however, that a guy that seemed to be that passionate, a guy that was a mayor of a town where there was all this violence and got a tattoo of the date that every person died of gun violence there, so he would remember them. I can't believe all of that was fake. For too long, he cared about too much. He talks differently. And I know that's not just your inflection would change maybe after a stroke, but just he doesn't seem to have the passion for people anymore. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But it's different. It's that or something else changed him. But it's just different when he talks about people. Like you could hear the passion in his voice. You could almost see tears well up in his eyes when he talked about the tattoos he got for these folks that were killed, who shouldn't have died. And by the way, even though he's in a small town in Pennsylvania, argued for universal background checks at that time. I don't know what happened to him. I think Fetterman is going to like send him a check back in 6 months. I hope you're right. Torvy Cat, what do you think? Thank you, by the way, for the $5 super chat. We love those, folks. If you can give more, I think I've got about 5 or 10 more minutes in me. I am tired. I just didn't sleep great last night. But in any case, what do you think of the income cap on Social Security? I think income should have no cap to take care of our tired and elderly. Well, Torby Cat, you have an interesting question. Hold on. And I want to save it. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to screenshot it. Save it with my good friend Alex Lawson before, who runs Social Security Works. So I used to do consulting for them. And I'm a big fan because they were the ones who started pushing that we're not going to cut Social Security. We're going to increase it. That's what Republicans do. And then if you end up at worst, you end up in the middle. Here's what I think. I think that cap is ridiculous. I think it is regressive. Why would you make people pay on the low end and not on the high end? I think we should do an absolute switcheroo, a complete flip. Flip it on its head. Let the first, I need an economist to do an analysis of this. So, to make sure that it doesn't end up being less money. I don't think it would be, but I would exempt maybe the first $100,000 people make. Certainly the first 50, but I might exempt the first 100,000. So they don't have to pay into it. We're going to still pay, into it. They're still going to get their Social Security benefits otherwise. And then it goes all the way up to 300 billion. And I think I would make a special, designation where if you have over $350 billion, you have to pay $200 million a year at least in Social Security taxes. I think the only person who has that is Elon Musk. I think we should start making special laws for everybody that has over 300 billion. Like 90% tax rate on billionaires, but 100% tax rate on everything over 300 billion. So we can just take 100 billion from Elon. That's what I think we should do. That's my plan for the future. Belfast Bob, all right. And we're getting in pounds, which I love. Nothing like some pounds. Thank you for the super sticker, my friend. Wonder how they do that through here. Do they translate that for me? Because I'll take those pounds and go back to Temple Bar, in Dublin, get myself some great drinks. I loved it there. Great, great freaking town. I'm not, obviously you're from Belfast. I'm just saying, well, you're not obviously, but your name's Belfast Bob. I haven't been to Belfast. I'd love to go. So I had to go with Dublin. I could have also gone with Cork. Could go with Galway. I've been to, I haven't been to Northern Ireland. I'd like to go. It'd be great. Do you think Elon Musk will investigate the Secret Service and Trump over charging them to protect him? Good question. They might. I wouldn't be, I think they'll do anything they think they can get away with. Carolina Childers. Did I just see something that I thought I saw? Well, look at that. Native West Virginian, loved going to the Cincy Zoo with my son, who is 42 now. Wow. Don't they grow up quick on us? I love taking my 2 little boys. We have so many great pictures of them there when they were adorable and little and like running around like little guys and crawling around, just big eyes at the animals. And they're now like 18 and 15. Time goes by. Yeah. Cincinnati Zoo is one of the best in the country. It's really, really good. I don't want to hear any Harambe jokes. That was horrible. And I would not have shot Harambe. I would have said, figure your damn way out of there. Sorry. Animals first. As far as I'm concerned, I would have had people jump in there and try to use other methods, but I wouldn't have shot Harambe. And I know I'm being judgmental and I can't be there and know what happened, and now we have Fiona, who's adorable, right? So they always find something to be good, but it's actually a pretty excellent zoo. Change the current first 176 cap. What do we got from Quantum Cricket here? To at least 500,000. That would make the Social Security Fund solvent for the foreseeable future. It would. I agree with that, but I think we should move it in the other direction. Why should the first 176? Why shouldn't it be just people making over a certain amount? I think you want to spur the economy, right? And we know that wealthy people have everything they need, so they tend to not go and spend, let's say in the department store, the grocery store, whatever. They spend on big ticket luxury items that they don't buy that often, like yachts, crap like that, often from foreign countries where they keep them and put their money in foreign banks and put it away where they don't use it. So to me, why not create a huge tax cut for people making up to, well, how about 176 a year and flip it over and say, we're going to start at 176 and go up. Or you said 500,000. Cool. Let's start at 500,000 and go up. My guess is if we made the rate the right rate, we would get enough taxes from those folks to make up for it. But again, I'm not an economist. Somebody else would have to put this together. But that would be my preference. Certainly, if you don't want to go to 176, fine. Give everybody making, at this point in certain cities, right? In certain places, 90-something thousand for a family of 4 is only like 200 or 300% of the poverty level. San Francisco, New York, places like that. As far as I'm concerned, why not give up to $100,000? Free and clear. You get your full Social Security benefits. We're not taxing you. Above that, we started a small one. It gets much bigger above 500,000, gets bigger, after $1 million. And then we go AOC and Elizabeth Warren on their asses once it gets above, like, I say 5 million, maybe 3, maybe 2. But not right away. We got to start somewhere. 90% of all income over 10 million a year. Olga Martinez, I agree 100%. I would go with what AOC said because I don't think we can get to 90% right away. I would love to get there eventually. I think we might have a shot if we have the congressional majorities and a president of getting a 70% or 75% tax on that. I do. And if we were smart enough to educate people about history and that we had tax rates at 91% under Eisenhower and the 70s under the Kennedys, I think you'd have a shot at that. That is what I would do. But I told you, my eventual, would be much more. I think you have the right in this country to get rich. And I want to do everything possible so that you have the opportunity to build a business, live your dream, and get rich. I think you have absolutely zero right to get obscenely rich. The country at that point is taking care of you, has done more for you, than you will ever give back to it. CNBC, the salary you need to be considered middle class in every U.S. state, it's close to 200,000 in two of them. I'm going to guess California and New York, but maybe others. Boston's pretty expensive, so it could be Massachusetts. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So start looking at tax cuts for people making in the $100,000 range. We have to change our way of thinking. That's not rich anymore. I'm not saying you're poor. You're not destitute, but you're not rich at 100,000. You're often like, if you live in certain cities, you're not necessarily even putting money away. But above on the rates above, yeah, I'm all in. The wealth tax that Warren talked about 50 million, do it. But I honestly, we get to a point where I think when you reach $1 billion, our goal should be to make sure that it is almost impossible. I wouldn't put it that way, but let's just call it really, really difficult to get to that second billion. I would put everything above $1 billion. I would, well, first of all, everything you make above, and again, this is if I had my druthers, not what I would do with what AOC is saying originally, but my druthers above 10 million. Yeah, I think 90% is a nice, above 10 million, 90% is a nice tax rate. Above 50 million a year, actually, let's say above 25 million a year goes to about 93. Above 50 million a year goes to about 96, 97. Above 100 million a year goes to about 98 or 99. Tell me when to stop, everybody. And if you're Elon Musk, it's 100. That's what I would do. Yes, sickening that greed is fashionable. Greed is a disease. Any of you folks out there fans of Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, or the book it's based on, Heart of Darkness? My good friend, we've had him on here before, and he's got a great Substack, by the way. Craig Oliar, who's a novelist too, writer, did a breakdown. He reread Heart of Darkness, the original one that took place in the Congo. Belgians searching for ivory, the ivory trade. As they're getting further and further in, it's becoming more surreal again. And the point of it is that he breaks down there is that the greed, when the man tells a story of what he went through and how he had to go, and Kurtz ended up dying. Well, whatever. If you haven't seen the movie by now, you haven't seen it. But Kurtz also in the book, who's an ivory trader and apparently had all these other skills, was like a good, a great musician, a great athlete, all of this, but he was so obsessed with making money that he went down there, and the greed is what drove him. So people who are racist like to say they went native, right? And that's the term that Greg used in sort of quotes. And the same with Brando. No, it's the greed. It's the greed that drove them mad. Greed for power, greed for money. And that's what we're looking at right now in our country. So it was great that Greg went through that, because he tied that in to where we are. I see what you're saying, Benny Loco. Money is indeed the root of all evil. I don't fully agree with that. First of all, there are sociopaths, and as we know, there are serial killers. There are people that kill for enjoyment and whatever. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just saying there are other sicknesses out there beyond it that would argue. Second of all, I think money is like anything else. It's something that is an instrument to get things that you need, and sometimes some things you want. And if we keep it that way, as we did between the 30s and 80s, by heavily regulating companies, breaking up monopolies, taxing the hell out of the rich and all of that, I think that money is okay. I think that when we create a culture like Reagan did, and then it got worse, and then it got worse, of me, anything I want, stop taking my money, libertarianism, at least on that, although it's always BS. They want to come get our money too. But, I built it myself. No, you didn't. you either went to a public high school or you went to a public college, or you used research grants from public institutions, or you used the internet, which by the way was created by our Defense Department, DARPA, or you used roads that were paved either with money from a national infrastructure bill like the one Biden passed, or a state one, or a local one. Every single person has benefited from that. Also, the before Trump came in, anyhow, the stability of this country, the ability that you knew that if you got a contract, you could trust it, so you could conduct business, the rule of law, which they're undermining right now. All of these things allowed you to get wealthy. So the thing is that if you have the proper regulations in place, I don't think money has to become something evil. I think when we get to a point of where we are mad with greed, we are Marlon Brando in that movie. We are sick. It's a sickness. And that, I think, changes everything. When your sickness says, when you're collecting, it's evolution gone wrong. I said before, when you're collecting still, because we all have the evolutionary impulse to collect resources to make sure that we propagate the species, we feed our family. But when that has gone so wrong that you've got the money Elon Musk has and you going into breaking into treasuries to defund Medicaid and cut money from people and do things like that, you are so, we don't define it the way we should. Our media won't. You are so deathly ill. You are so out of your gourd. You are so sick in your mind. There is something so psychopathically wrong with you that you need treatment and you need to be put in a room with padded walls and no sharp objects. And I believe that. When greed gets to that point, it is an absolute sickness. That is what we're going through. And that's because Reagan and our culture created that. America, during plenty of times, has not been that. All right. During our revolution, okay, we did a lot wrong. I will say this. I said it again. I'll say it again. I've said it many times before. I'm not claiming, we had slavery. That was to save people money, right? Although most of the founding fathers wanted to get rid of it. But somebody that was too gauche about money, somebody that traded on their name. I don't know if you guys ever saw the John Adams, who, by the way, was against slavery from the beginning. The John Adams miniseries they did a number of years ago. And he was angry when, he lashed out at his son-in-law for trading on the family name to try to get a job, because you just didn't do that then. It was considered gross. Think about that today. Everywhere, right? Meghan McCain's on TV because of her talent, and the Trump boys are talented, and everybody trades on their name. The point is that with the right cultural controls and political controls and legal controls, I think money's okay. When, and it has been at times in American history. When we make it the be all and end all, that's dangerous and bad. Speaking of that, I'm going to go through quickly Donald Trump and his greed, because we're running out of time here. Here we go, guys. Ready for it? From the Huffington Post. In a single 24-hour period on Monday, Trump fired the head of the Office of Government Ethics, whose job it is to watch for conflicts of interest. He pardoned a former Illinois governor convicted of trying to sell a U.S. Senate seat. Who could that be? Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. And yeah, that was Blagojevich, of course. That's why when any Democrat gets indicted and becomes a criminal, they eventually become a Republican. Blagojevich, Eric Adams will, I'm sure, because MAGA appreciates people that are corrupt. He is stopping the enforcement of anti-bribery law. Justice Department, ordered prosecutors to drop charges against Eric Adams, who's been indicted for bribery and fraud, even as they conceded the decision had little to do with the strength of evidence against New York City mayor who has cozied up to Trump. In the weeks since taking office on January 20th, Trump has ordered a likely mass firing of inspectors general, the guys that look into his illegal and wrongdoings. He pardoned a major drug dealer in a quid pro quo with libertarians for their support in the November election. He stripped people who have criticized him of their security clearances, making their livelihoods more difficult. His Justice Department eliminated units aimed at kleptocracy and preventing foreign interference in elections. And an unprecedented move for a president. And days before taking office, Trump set up a cryptocurrency scheme that will allow him to take millions, even billions of dollars from domestic and foreign asset interests seeking favor. You also are trying to hamstring now the, what was it? The bureau that Liz Warren led, right? The Consumers Bureau. They're trying to crush that. It's the most open corruption we've ever seen in this country by a president. That's the sickness, the greed, the illness of money. Donald Trump's illness and the illness of those who support him. They're sick people. They need help in many ways. And I think, guys, yes, CFPB. Thank you. Can't always think of everything on the fly. I do my best. What is this? Sorry. I guess he didn't appreciate being called Cliffy. No acknowledgement in a long time. What are you talking about? Starlene, you got to understand when I'm doing this. I love being called Cliffy, by the way. I've told you. It's a term of endearment. Friends call me. Tells me that I've been relaxed enough around them, that I show who I am, that I don't get offended by that. I consider that shows that they care about me. So if I don't acknowledge people, it's random. It's what I see. I do these monologues. I read things, I apologize. Like, I will, sometimes I'll mention somebody 14 times in one of these things, and other times it'll be somebody else. There's not anything against anybody here. All right. Unless you come in here and you're a troll. Bye, Cliffy. Hate us poor. Thanks. All right. Well, okay. You go on Deep State Dave, or if you're being serious, if you think I hate poor people, after everything I've said today, if you think I hate poor people when I'm talking about how I'd like to tax billionaires, or whatever, you go with that. I don't know what else to say. Ella, and then we got WW on the other side of things. LL Cliffy likes being called Cliffy. Has a few other names though. Yes, there are many names. Again, folks, there's no loving anybody, hating anybody. You all seem great to me. There's a few of you in there who I know personally. Outside of here, you're terrific. There's a lot of the rest of you I don't. And all I can tell you is everything I see about you here, you're fantastic. And I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, no, the trolls help the YT algorithm. I'm good with it, big dog. Again, trolls who are sort of trying to insult us are people that I'll have fun with and rip into. A troll like that, there are people you just can't explain anything to. They're always going to be. I guess I talked about them earlier, purists. If I can sit here and say, I guess I said that $100,000 is not what it used to be. Well, it's not, because that's what the economy would tell you. But if I can sit here and literally call for a 90-something% top tax rate on a lot of people, and breaking up monopolies and switching Social Security so the first 100,000 at least, and maybe 176 is not taxed and all that, and you come away from that thinking, I hate the poor. Okay, you do that. That's not somebody I even bother with. You can believe that. Also, I am a big fan of knocking cars off the highway. Did you get that from what I said too? Oh, it takes all kinds, folks. And now, folks, I must bid you a fond farewell soon. Although that's my line, I shouldn't have said it yet. But we're at 55. You go past 4 o'clock, you know what happens. Then I cannot. I have to edit and can't reach out. Man, it went quick today, especially with no guests. You guys had great questions, great comments. So all I can say at this point is, who's coming with me? Come on, I just need one. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? WW, that was income I was talking about, 100,000 or whatever. Yes. For Social Security, anyhow, if that's what you were asking. I was talking about 100,000. I was saying in certain cities, 100,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. I'm not saying in rural areas. There are a lot of areas where, hell, even $60,000 goes really far. But try that in New York City or San Francisco or Boston. I mean, cities have gotten really expensive. So we do have to keep that in mind. There you go, Sheldon Hughes with $2. He's coming with me. I don't need to take the goldfish. The goldfish shall live. Francie, Ryle, $3 super sticker. Francie's coming with me. All right, look at that, folks. Look at us crushing it on the way out. Look at us. Oh, we got more. Always more. Hold on. Hold on. Benny Loco for $2. I would love to be a guest on your show, Cliffy. Well, Benny Loco, then all we need to do is you and I need to talk offline, because I do that with all my guests, by the way, not just you. Have a conversation and I just need to get a sense of what it is you want to talk about, and other stuff. because we'll do it. You know, I may start just sort of with certain folks. You know, that may be another thing we'll do is maybe with Patreon and other stuff. Certain folks you can join a level where you can be a guest on here. But take aside any kind of financial whatever. I'm happy to have some folks on here. It just has to be that I need to know what your expertise is. I need to know what you're going to talk about. It is a show where I have to know where, you know, and again, everything about you so far, Benny Loco, you at my YouTube channel, you know, here, you seem fantastic, but we haven't talked offline. So I got to have that talk offline and just make sure I understand like what it is we're going to discuss. Because it may be something that I don't know a lot about that I can't discuss. So yeah, I see the cold rain, Carolina. We've got the snow / cold rain. Okay, 3:57. We're coming to the end. So if anybody else wants to come with me, come with me. I'd love 99 cents on the way out. Anybody gonna do it? Going once, going twice. I'm not gonna turn into an auctioneer. If you can, that would be awesome. You guys are fantastic. As usual, I'll probably see it on the way out. $2 from Sheldon Hughes, and he thinks Benny Loco would be a great guest. And that Benny Loco is a strong endorsement. So if other folks can endorse you like that, we can make this happen. But now you must go as the sun sets slowly in the west. I must bid you a fond farewell, my friends. Till tomorrow.